So I think there's a general understanding of what shame is. We've all experienced it. If you've been human on this planet for any amount of time, if you're listening to this, you have experienced it. And, I was taught that there were different versions of shame, but what I'm really talking about here today is the shame that feels like shame. It's the feeling that you're bad, that you're wrong, that there's something just totally so wrong with you that you need to be pushed aside, expelled, discarded. And so where this comes from, I just want to give a little brief look into this, is partly the way the brain works. So we all know, in the example of pain in the body, pain is just a signal that there's something off. And so we go and we tend to it and we make it better so that whatever was having pain before, hopefully is now going to be thriving. But if we let it go, if we just let the pain go, then it gets worse and worse. Well, shame also evolved in a similar fashion, but it was really around the social influences. So having shame come about meant that society, or specifically in tribal cultures where people were living in small communities and heavily relying on one another for their survival. They relied on each other for food and for raising the children and for warmth even, just like huddling together before there was a fire. It was so important to have everyone on the same page, that shame evolved as a psychological mechanism to assure that the tribe would be healthy. Because what it meant was, if you were so bad, if you wronged the community in some way, it was very uncomfortable to keep living with each other, and all eyes were on you. And it meant also that the tribe could actually suffer. So, for example, if somebody was told, let's say a tribe is living in the jungle and they all are like, don't go over there into that part of the jungle because there's some bad berries, etc., something like that. And then one day somebody sneaks out and they're like, they're not going to know. We really need some more food. I'm going to help out and I'm going to go get those berries. I had one or two and it was fine for me. They bring them back and then, half the tribe is deceased as a result, or seriously ill. And so the tribe then, they figure out what's happening. They shame the person so badly that the person can't really even stay there anymore. They become the scapegoat, or they might even be exiled. And I think this is where the real sting of shame is because literally people were told to leave. If they did something so egregious that it threatened the well-being of the tribe, that they were told they must go. Well, what that meant back then, it's not like now. You couldn't just move to another state and, get an apartment or a home or live in your RV. You literally were out in the elements and you were at the will of nature. And it very often meant that these people simply ceased to exist. They died. They could not sustain themselves. It really took a community. And so that has been with us. It's been part of what we receive in our genetics, and it's come down through family lines. But now it's definitely a little displaced because we don't really need it. When we're conscious, we can say, oh, that's a bad thing to do, but it doesn't mean we're going to abandon you forever. Doesn't mean you're out on the street, but that reaction is still there for us. We haven't been able to completely disconnect just naturally. So we have to think through it. We have to have a process in order to be able to disconnect from that shame. The shame monster, the saboteur is what I call it. And they take on sort of different flavors, different personalities. This is a soul connection assessment that wherever you are on your journey, you could be have been doing a lot of soul work over the years, a lot of deep spiritual practice, or maybe you're even newer to these ideas. Either way, this assessment is going to help you see some of the areas where maybe you didn't know were impacting your ability to connect with your soul, to hear your soul, and to express your soul's wisdom in the world. So it just takes a few minutes. There are different points of access. So there's going to be some questions around intuition, empathy, things of this nature, energy, embodiment. So even if you've done a lot of spiritual work, I find a lot of people that I work with who've done, spiritual work for years, it can be really up in their head about it and not in the human experience and the embodiment of the energy. And your body is here to help you, to help your soul have these experiences. So I think you can gain a lot of insight simply from taking the assessment, and it would be my pleasure to send you your results.